Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. So today we are going to talk how I can create my own CRM with no code. So you know that in a company we need a CRM to help us manage our clients. And sometimes we can even create a CRM and sell it to other companies. So imagine that you can have an entire CRM with multiple features, multiple interfaces that can provide you with reporting and a complete dashboard. All of this I can do with a simple tool called DataButton. With this one, you just need to create a free account. I will show you step by step how I can use the predefined templates and how I can launch my specifications with just a few clicks. And in just a few minutes, I can have my own product, my own software, my own CRM in a very simple way without needing to write a single line of code. So in the training, I will simply divide it into two parts. First part, here we will talk a little about the theory to understand what a SaaS is, how I detect the need, how I set up a CRM creation project, and especially afterwards, how I can monetize it. That means that I either use it within my company, so there I gain in profitability, and it won't cost much to implement, it will be truly customized. And the second way, which is the most interesting, is this CRM, after having used, I can put it online for sale, for subscriptions, even to provide it to other companies. And so all the documentation for this training, I have made it available in French and English. So all the plans I have set up, all the specifications I will use, you will find in this documentation. I am giving you a little bit of the result of our program. Here I am on DataButton. So as a result, all the steps I will launch will be processed here. And it's the system automatically. So I don't do anything, I will just introduce my specifications. And it will detect all the necessary steps to succeed in my project and will guide me step by step. Each time it completes a step, it will mark it in green and tell me, there you go, we will move on to the next step. So it is capable of installing a database, installing Stripe electronic payment, installing all the interfaces, all the connections inside. For me, it's enough to just come in with an idea. So the training is designed for beginners, for people who want to create software, a SaaS, a CRM especially, and who have no knowledge in development or in programming. I will guide you step by step. So just with a simple free account on DataButton, you can start your tool well. I thank you very much and see you soon. So just before continuing the training on YouTube, I wanted to introduce myself very quickly for those who don't know me. My name is Firas. I am a doctor in artificial intelligence. And today I am a trainer on the Udemy platform. So on this platform, I teach courses in marketing, business, and artificial intelligence. And if you go to the marketing category, you will find that I have several courses here, and I am ranked as the most popular trainer in France in these categories. You will see that I have profiles that contain the badge, Udemy Partner Trainer. And most of my courses also contain the badge, Best Seller. Among my accounts on Udemy, I have approximately 120,000 students who have taken my courses here. And of course, we have more than 14,000 positive reviews. Today, I am also a member of the N with N community, where I publish my workflows. These are workflows that I customize for companies and share with you for free for the purpose of learning. To thank you finally for subscribing to my YouTube channel. On my website, which you will find the link to here, I have gathered my courses that are currently available on Udemy, which are best sellers, and you simply have direct access to them. Direct access to benefit from these courses. This is a token of my appreciation for your loyalty. Use this coupon to access these courses. I thank you very much and wish you a good learning experience. Very well, so in order to create a CRM, it's very important to understand what a SaaS is. So SaaS stands for software as a service or a software as a service. So you should know that when creating software today, we try to host that software so that it is online. That means we won't need to do an installation. And when we have software online hosted in the form of a cloud or hosted on a server, we are talking about a SaaS. And generally, when we say CRM, customer relationship management, it is always software and it is hosted online. So we are talking about SaaS. So the two concepts. The CRM can be defined as also being a SaaS. So the concept of SaaS is very, very important today. Generally speaking, it requires having internet access. And you will see that there we can actually do what we call the commercialization. of the CRM. So generally, companies either they will create a CRM to use it themselves. There you go. They will develop it. They will test it. Afterwards, they will improve and add several features. And once the CRM is operational and 100% functional, they will use it for themselves. And we often find that there are companies that also try to sell this CRM to other companies in the same field, sometimes even to competitors. And as a result, this CRM, after being tested, worked on, improved, and having enhanced their productivity, it would be a very good idea to commercialize it. But then it all depends on the company's strategy. There are those who create it. They don't need to implement a payment system because it's solely for them, only for their users and their employees. But there are a lot of examples today in the market. Back in the day, the company Dell, which is a company that deals with all things computer technology, at a certain point developed a very good CRM that was very connected to customer relations and especially to after-sales service. Initially, the creation was solely internal. And after several years, once the company was sold, this CRM was also resold. And it's as if, there you go, as if it were an asset or an element that is part of the company and holds great value. In terms of hosting, it's very important for it to be accessible online, on the internet, and almost everywhere. So we will need it to be hosted. And you will see that today in software, no code, which allows us to create CRMs, which simply allows us to create a SaaS, gives us the possibility of having automatic hosting so that it is accessible everywhere. As an example, as you can see, there is Google Workspace, there is Dropbox, there is Salesforce. In fact, there are many well-known SaaS today on the internet that many people actually use. So, as a characteristic of SaaS, it must be known that it is accessible on the internet. It can have a payment model, yes or no. This means that it all depends on the company's strategy. If it wants to use it itself, there's no need for it to be paying if it wants to create it and then share the CRM. For other people, other companies, of course, it can switch to the mode of monthly subscription. And this brings in a lot of money and is very, very interesting. And the hosting is very important, that it is actually online to have access on any device and almost everywhere. So, when a company wants to create an application or a CRM, quite simply today we talk about a SaaS project. And at that point, to carry out the SaaS project, you will see that there are, of course, several pieces of information that need to be taken into consideration. The first thing, of course, was to create the application so that it is hosted online, accessible online. So, as a result, we talk about SaaS, and it must, of course, try to meet several needs of the company. I will take a specific example, a company that wants to create its own CRM. So at that point, obviously, it must create a specification document where there are specific needs, where it will simply highlight the problems it wants to reduce, optimize, or solve with this CRM. I will take a very simple example. Imagine in a company, it does not know how to manage clients or prospects very well before they transition to client mode. And so, as a result, it wants to create a CRM to handle all the email follow-ups, to manage all the tracking. In fact, with the sales team. So, as a result, before, perhaps each staff member and each salesperson, Asana, Melissa, had their own file, Excel. But now, today, we are going to create an application to gather and centralize everything. So that's a project. So, as a result, it will solve a problem. It will actually try to help the company set its goals. And at that point, we created a specification document to move on to the application and development. And today, as you can see, there are a lot of no-code software options that allow you to create your CRM in just a few hours. But for it to be successful, it's very important to have the requirements well defined, to know all the features, the pages we want to create, the functions, the objective. So we invest time in doing that. Generally, we also do it in a way that uses artificial intelligence. By using ChatGPT, it will help us rewrite that specification document. Once it's ready, you'll see that execution is much simpler today. Then it's very important to consider scalability. So what does scalable mean? It means that today, the company has, for example, 10 employees using this CRM. Imagine that tomorrow it has 50. At that point, the system must support adding more user accounts. The same thing. Today, imagine that the company has 20 clients who are set up in the CRM, who are registered. Imagine that tomorrow it has 2,000. How will it manage? It simply needs to have from the start a solid database, a secure system where it is scalable. And remember that there are many cases where we can create a CRM for our own company and then we can commercialize it so we can sell it to several other companies. So consequently, adding standard functions is very, very interesting because it will actually help and it will make this tool scalable and reusable everywhere. Another piece of information which is very important is security. You know, a CRM generally contains confidential, sensitive, important information. We have revenue figures, invoices, various data, even confidential information like the client's phone number, email address, and so on. So security, in fact, is very important indeed. Therefore, especially when using software that helps us with no code, it is really necessary to use these tools correctly, where we will simply be careful when storing passwords to ensure they are encrypted. The code also needs to be very secure to prevent SQL injections and attacks. And this is very important when using no-code software. It was really necessary to choose the right software that will create for us this application so that it takes into account development with full security, even without us asking. And finally, it's the home machine interface, and that's very important. So the interface, the user experience, the UX is very important. What is the user interface? So if I create a CRM that can address multiple functionalities, that can help me solve several problems, that's good. But if it's difficult to use, if it's complicated, if it has a visual that isn't simple enough, then you'll see that users won't use it. And that's a little bit most of the software today that doesn't succeed, that hasn't replaced the manual notes of employees. It's simply because they have software that is very difficult to use, that is not user-friendly. And that's very important because generally users have a resistance to using software, especially something new, especially tools that they need to update all the time, because we are used to employees wanting to update their Excel file at the end of the month or at the end of the week. But if we give them a tool that requires them to update it all the time, the information so that the statistics and reports remain in real time, at that moment, they will feel like they are doing extra work. As a result, they will resist. But if we give them an easy-to-use, simple application that helps them save a lot of time, they will simply thank us and use it. That's why when creating a SaaS or a CRM, it is important to consider from the start the need to make an easy-to-use interface, what we call a user-friendly interface. So the process for creating your software, which is an online software, let's take the example of a CRM. You will see that there are practically 5 very important steps. So the first step is where we define the problem and our target audience. So the problem, quite simply, if I am going to create software or a CRM, I will say, okay, this CRM, what type of problem will it solve or what type of problem will it address? So consequently, I will list them. Sometimes we can find 1, 2, 3, 4 problems. It all depends on the complexity of the process. And then my target. So what is the target? Are those who will use the CRM, the marketing departments, commercial departments? Are they financial professionals? Are they developers? Because sometimes I can create a CRM for developers or programmers to track their projects. So once I determine the target, you will see that the mode or the process within the CRM will be different. It will be adapted to that target. The second thing that is very important is what we call the creation of the MVP. So what is an MVP? Quite simply, when we talk about MVP, it means minimum viable product. It's key, the basic functions, where it will start. M must have it in the first version. Version 1 must really have these functions. Because if I'm going to make a CRM and list all the features I'm going to implement, you need to know that it will take much more time. And the objective, when we work on creating our codes, is to work in an incremental manner. That means we release a first version that has, for example, 10 functions. Then we have a version 2 that contains 20 functions until we reach a final version that contains, for example, 100 functions. So consequently, starting with an initial specification that contains the basic functions is very important. For example, as a basic function, if I say that I want my system to include a database, include access with a login and password, and include, for example, the basic settings to define my login and password. In any case, these are basic functions for the system to operate. So consequently, this is the second step. The third step, which is very important, is the location or the place where I will host my final product. And here there will be several questions. The first question we can ask is whether I want, when working with a no-code software, for this no-code software to automatically migrate my application so that it is operational, or if I want to retrieve the source code and place it elsewhere on another server. So generally speaking, we prefer the first solution because usually when the no-code guarantees migration and sends it to a server specific to that no-code, it will be in a very well-suited environment. This is because sometimes when we take the source code and try to deploy it elsewhere, we need to define and install several plugins. There you have it, or the exact environment is the same environment where our no-code routine started to develop. You know, in the code, when I tell it here, I want you to create a specification document for me. Or you apply what it seeks there, but you write me a CRM or a software. Of course, it will install several nodes, several extensions on the base server so that my system will function. Let me give an example. Imagine that I have a function so that I can export a report in PDF format. The function for exporting that content in PDF format will require the installation of certain components, certain plugins that are specific to PDF document generation. So if I take the source code at the end and put it on another server and I don't have that plugin installed in that environment, I would have to install it. Therefore, I might find myself fixing errors, installing and wasting a lot of time. And that's why we generally prefer that. The system offers me hosting at the end, and that's very important. I save time. As soon as it's done, I click on a Go Live button and it's done. The system or the CRM is operational. So that too. When we said we were going to make several versions, obviously you need to set up testing and improvement cycles. Because if I finish, for example, the first version 1, I say, for instance, I will test and work on it for a month and then take user feedback, propose improvements, the bugs that will be there, and then I will correct them and move on to a second version. That's working incrementally. Good. And finally, what is customer support? Customer support, and that's very important. If a company is going to create the CRM for itself, if indeed it needs that behind the software, which will do the no-code, there must be support to help you fix the bugs. Your product needs to be in production. If I take the opposite case, that you have created a CRM, you are going to sell it to several companies. Well, the company. It will, of course, be sold later, where you must also actually offer support for all the new users who will sign up because they will rely on it. In fact, because if you are a company that wants to resell this CRM, those who buy it, when they find a bug, they won't. So they won't go to do the programming and fix it. No, they will come back to you. So the customer support phase is very important. If I am going to work on it, to use it, this CRM internally, my support must be the no-code software. That's why you have to be very careful. There are many software options. No-code today allows you to create a CRM, but they don't provide after-sales service. That is to say, if there is a bug, you still have to enter, program, and ask the AI to fix it. But there are others, if there is a bug afterwards, you can enter and ask the people behind the no-code software to fix this code for you. And that is very professional and very interesting. So that's a point to consider in consideration, and that a little bit, the development process of a SaaS project. So monetization, the monetization aspect, as we explained, there are two ways to look at it. Either I will create a CRM, so I will use it myself. It will save me time in the activity. It will actually help me create a CRM to facilitate processes in the company. So as a result, if I create it with no code, I will simply benefit from its use. I will consume it. And so in this case, the project will not actually be about the profitability of this project. It will not be in resale, but rather in saving, first of all, money. If I develop it with a development company, it will take a lot of time. It will require a lot of money. But if I do it with no code, I will make it profitable by using it. There is a second aspect, as we explained, which is very interesting. There are those who create a CRM because they have identified a need within a company. Generally, these are people who work in companies and truly see that there is a need. And it can sometimes be the boss, or it can simply be an employee. And afterwards, when he creates the CRM, he will test it and say, here, this CRM will solve such and such a problem. What will he do? He will resell it And how does the sale happen? In fact, there are several ways to do it. So he can simply sell monthly or annual subscriptions. There are people who sign up, they get a free account for 14 days, and then they have to pay if they like the tool, if they find it interesting. There are those who will charge based on usage. For example, I give you access to the system, but I allow you to add up to 50 clients for free. Beyond 50 clients, it will be charged. There are those who will give you a free tool, but some features are paid. There are those who will give you 100% free access, but there is advertising integrated within. Well, that one is a bit complicated because if you have ads and for a company using software, there are a lot of ads popping up, so it's not pleasant to see, and as a result, it doesn't work well for CRMs within the company. There are those who sell enterprise licenses. A company comes, it buys an annual license, and the company has the right to add its users, or we can even sell it to them with the number of users they can add to use this application or this CRM. So here we have actually seen, let's say, what SaaS is and how we are going to create it and how we can simply monetize it. The idea today is that we are going to try to create a SaaS together, and it will be an example of a CRM. This CRM will simply help us address a specific need within a company to assist with production, help us optimize time, and above all, save time and money. And we are going to do all this with a no-code tool. I will guide you step by step to show you how I implement the specifications and how I can subsequently, of course, request this no-code to create this SaaS for me and have it automatically put online at the end. All right, so here, in order for me to simply create my application, it's very easy. I will use this tool, DataButton, especially since it offers me a free plan where I can completely create my CRM. I will leave you the link in the description. I will give you a very quick presentation of this tool. It's a no-code tool. This means that it takes as input my request, my specification document, and I have, of course, provided here a full description where you will find the specification document. This is an example of a specification document that I created. I will show you, of course, how I created this specification document. And the tool, quite simply, will receive the specification document and it will develop for me. And especially with the free version that you will see, I can have all the interfaces. And what is very interesting is that it's a tool that is very, very strong in everything related to SaaS, in everything related to CRM. This means its strong point is that it is capable of creating interfaces and functionalities for businesses so they can simply create software and applications that are hosted online. And this tool, its strong point, is that it actually offers me the online hosting of my application. This means that once I finish, I won't have to migrate, download the code, and put it elsewhere. I can download it, that's for sure. But what is very important is that it works in the real final environment. And that is very important. That's what makes this tool strong. I also add regarding the pricing, I will show you. So as we explained, the free version allows me to get started well. So here you will see that we will create an account, and with the account we will upload the specifications. With the specifications, it will simply give me the entire process and composition of my project just by inputting my specifications. This means that I will not input any technical information, no code. And it is actually this tool that will assist me setting up all the installations. So there are actually 3 types of packages. The simplest one, meaning I can take for example a $20 credit per month, and this will allow me to access up to about 75 features. That's huge. If I want to create an application, you'll see the one we're going to create. It's a CRM that contains about 20 features, so we'll end up using less than $10. And even with the free version, we can finish without needing to request a top-up for the account. But this one, if you want, it also allows you to create more. If we finish the first application with the same balance, we can create other applications, and that's very interesting. And also, what's very interesting, I have here what we call support. So here the support. It's really very interesting that I can always find people who are online, and I can message them if I encounter a bug, if I need assistance, and that's a bit of the difference between this tool and other tools available on the market. So there's this one. It's practically, in fact, if, for example, you are in the process of creating a large project for yourself, and this project generally contains hundreds of features. And you really need, let's say, someone with you. Every time you make progress, you simply want them to help you and intervene in real time with you to advance the project very quickly. So as a result, this one, in fact, we take it. It actually costs $700, but it's very interesting as a rate. Apart from that, because if I'm going to do a large project, it means a project that contains hundreds and hundreds of features. Generally, if I'm going to ask a company to do it, it will require a lot of money and it will take several months. But here, in fact, with this one, listen, let's say in a few days, I can set up the entire system. And especially you will see that here you have dedicated support. That means here you simply have a channel with the developers. Let's say the creators of this tool are behind it, and that's very important. You will have an expert human somewhere who will assist you. I recommend it. If you ever have a big project and instead of going to a company, you decide to dive into the code, but you are afraid, you will really need a human with you who is an expert in this AI, who is there with you in real time, who is at your service to answer you, in fact, on or all your development and progress in real time. This is what we call priority. So here you have priority and support. This one, that's different. This is for communication or development agencies. You are a communication company, so there you pay $4,000 and you will see, quite simply, you just send the specifications. That means that here, in fact, you will have 18 hands. In fact, they are the ones who will do the tasks. They are the ones who will execute. You provide a set of specifications, you send it. They are the ones who will execute it, work on it, and deliver the hosted application to you, but test it online. So that's a little bit, I recommend it. For people who develop, let's say, about 10 applications each month, for clients, of course. But that's a business. So for you, it will be very interesting to start. There, create your first application. Then if you have a first client and you really want to deliver something to them, you can take this one because you can charge much more behind it. And finally, in fact, it becomes there you have a company with several orders per month. It's very interesting to start from there. Now, if I am a company and within the company, I am going to create my CRM. Simply listen to the first pack. It is very interesting. You start with a free account and then you will actually execute the features. If ever the free account is not sufficient, you can switch to a month of my Pioneer account for. There you go, in fact, adding even more features. So in these parts, we will try to send our load quality here in this application and see a little bit the result that will be returned by this application. I remind you that it's very interesting to know that the environment, in fact, is the test environment that will be offered for free. This means they will give you a domain name. There you can test your application, you can share it with friends, you can really have it live. Once it is finished, I can simply click on publish. And publishing it will simply allow your application to be accessible on your own domain name. And you don't have to do any installation or migration. That too is the strength of this tool.